Hello, everyone. I'm Ellen Sentier, and this is Celtic Noir. And last week, I told you about, well, I read out a part of Our Woman to you. And I told you that I'd tell you more about the story. In fact, tell you the story of Urith, around which Our Woman is based. And so here I am, and I'm going to do that for you today. So let's get going with Urith. Long ago and far away, a woman in a wee hamlet in the ancient kingdom of Dumnonia birthed a beautiful girl child. She called her Urith, and her name means brightness. The woman was wed with the headman of the village, and she herself held office as the guardian of the sacred spring that gave water to all the domain. But unfortunately, when Urith was not yet full grown, her dear mother died, leaving her and her father alone, and the spring unguardianed. Now this could not be, for in the old ways a chosen woman was always the spirit keeper to the water, for the water is life, and none can live without it. At the celebration of her mother's death, the fire spoke, calling Urith to take her mother's place, her mother's role, and become guardian to the water. Urith took on the deep responsibility with all her heart, and she knew in her bones that she must be the spirit keeper to the spring, for the fire had called her, and she must do it to keep the village alive. But she needed help, and help that her father could not give her, nor none else in the village neither. But deep in the woods that guarded the village lived an ancient wise one. He had been there since time out of mind. Few ever saw him, but all knew that he was there and knew his power. He called her. He sent the white hart out from the forest to her father, calling Urith to come to him and to learn. And Urith accepted. So every week she crossed the stream that bounded the woods and followed the path that took her to the wise one's dwelling deep in the forest. She knew the boundary there between the village and the wood. She could feel it tingle in her skin, and she would ask to cross to visit with the wise one. Once, only the once, she tried to cross to the forest and to take the boundary without asking its permission, and the forest had thrown her backwards into the grass. She picked herself up and gone close to the boundary again. "I'm sorry," she whispered, stretching a hand to touch the bramble stem that reached to touch her. The stem caressed her finger, oh, so softly, the thorns never making any mark upon her skin, but only tickling, as the robin's tiny talons would when the little bird came to take food from her lips. "I'm sorry," she said again. "I will always ask in future. I just wanted to know." "And now you do." The voice inside her head was deep and soft and gentle. "I go to visit with the wise one of the wood. Will you let me pass?" "I will. And I will let you pass out again when you wish to return home." "I thank you." Urith gave the forest spirit a delicate reverence, and all the branches and all the brambles parted to let her pass through. And today, the path wove its way deeper and deeper into the woods, and the trees grew older and older, huger and yet more huge. And she came to stop at last in front of an enormous and very ancient oak tree. She peered up into its great branches. May I see how old you are?" she asked the tree. "My father told me once the old saying, that you have 400 years to grow, 400 years to stand, and 400 years to die, and that I could know, by counting how many full arm widths it takes me to go all the way around you, I could know how old you are. And then, if you will be so kind, will you tell me if I am right? Yes, little one, the tree spoke in her mind, and I will. Carefully, Urith spread her arms to reach round the tree, and again, and again. It took her 6 whole arm stretches to come back to where she'd begun. 6 times my height. She looked up into the dense canopy. That's 30 foot. You are very ancient. Am I right? I am, the tree told her. I am father to this forest. Urith gave the tree a deep reverence. Father Tree, will you guide me, guard me, and keep me as I journey within your domain? I will, my child, and I will warn you when things are unsafe and when there are things for you to do. Thank you, Father Tree. Go on now, child, the wise one waits. And Urith made a slight reverence, delicately, and placed her hand to the tree's trunk, and then she stepped right up close to kiss the ancient, deep-grooved bark. She arrived at the path up the hill through the birch wood. May I come? She asked, at the entrance to the path. And the tall birch, whose long, weeping branches held the threshold, rustled their bright green curtain and parted for her. And she slipped through and began the long, steep climb up the steps. The way was long, full 90 steps, so she climbed and climbed and climbed. And then, 3 steps from the top, there to greet her, sat the little black cat who lived with the wise one. Come in, he told her, you are expected. She stepped up the steps and bent to offer the cat a finger. He sniffed and licked and trilled. There you are, the wise one appeared in the doorway. Come in, we have much to learn today. And Urith entered the warm wood cabin and went to her usual seat by the fire, ready to learn. And so it was. Every week, Urith would go to the wood, speak with Father Oak, and visit with the wise one. And so she learned the mysteries of water, and the village thrived. But her father was lonely. It was some years now since his wife had passed. He had no one to share his life with. The other men had their wives and their daughters and their sons, but he had only his one daughter. And the more she learned with the wise one, the further away she seemed to be. He remembered how his wife had been. She had loved him, yes, but it had always seemed that she loved the water and the wood more. He'd not been jealous, not really, but he had felt that he missed something that the other men had, a closeness with their women that he did not. When he went into the market each month, he found himself looking at the women there. Many, most perhaps, were partnered and wed, and not for him. But sometimes there were ones who had not yet chosen their mate. One market day, a lovely woman stopped at his stall, fingering the delicate leatherwork he made and sold. She took up a beautiful blue belt, the colour of the evening sky. She examined it and then looked up at him, sidelong, a question in her eye. "'Tis 15 marks, lady, and you want it, and I will fit the buckle to your waist." She smiled. passed him the sum in silver coin. He stepped round the stall and set the belt around her slender waist, and as he did so, a shudder ran through him as they touched, and through her, and her smile deepened. "I thank you, Leather Master," she said, and slid gracefully away. Next market day she was there again. This time she took up a scrip, a delicate bag of violet leather. He had collected the whortleberries the previous summer and spent long hours perfecting the dye, and spent a lot of money to buy the alum to fix it. "Ah, that is expensive, lady," he smiled sidelong at her. "I must charge you 30 marks for that one. 'Tis a difficult colour to make." "It is beautiful." She stroked the silky leather. "You are a fine craftsman." And she paid him the 30 marks, asked him to help her fix it to the belt. Next market, he spent most of his time looking out for her, his eyes everywhere, hunting through the day. At last, the sun was sinking down the sky, and he had given up hope, his mouth drooping, taking no pleasure even from his very profitable day. Desultorily, he began to put aside the last of his wares that had not sold, and began carefully to wrap the beautiful leather torque he'd braided with silver and kept to one side for the whole day, despite several folk looking at it hopefully. He'd hoped to entice her again. He turned to get the bag in which he kept it, turned back, and there she stood. She wore his belt with the lilac scrip, and her hand was on the torque. "I think you made this for me?" Her smile invited. "Indeed, lady, and I did." He touched her hand, and I would ask you to wed with me." She took his hand. "And I will say yes." At the next season's turn, they wedded, and Urith's father had not been so happy for many a long year. Urith could not grudge her father his happiness. She had her own happiness in the woods and the water. How could she be jealous of his? But she had nothing in common with her new stepmother. The newly wedded wife wondered often why her man allowed his daughter so much free time, time to go off into the woods, to disappear, and not to do any of the household chores. "Why do you allow it?" she asked him. "What sort of wife will she ever grow up to be? And she knows nothing of household discipline. What man will ever want her? She will be a millstone hanging round your neck all the years of her old age." And mine too, she thought, but never spoke it aloud. "She is guardian to the spring," the father told his new wife. "The fire chose her at the burning of the body of my first wife. The wise one of the woods called her, sent the heart himself to call her. She is spirit keeper, our Weneth. She must go where she is called." This gruntled deeply with his new wife. "I am the lady of the village now, the headman's wife. It is I who should be guardian of the spring, not some chit of a girl." "I thought," she said to him, "indeed, I understood, that office belongs to your wedded wife. You, as headman, should give the office to your wedded lady, not a mere child." That gave the father to think. Should he? Had he been wrong to listen to the fire, to the white heart? Should his new wife indeed be the guardian of the waters? Should he relieve his daughter of the office and grant it to his wedded lady? For she was a grown woman, and one with deep magical skills of her own. Would it not be wise for she to be the guardian and spirit keeper of the waters? It was evening. and he took the pitcher to the well to take the water from the spring for the evening meal. And the spring belched at him. It spat dark red water at him, staining his cot like blood. And then, next day, the people came to him. Pentreff, they called him. Pentreff, come forth and see what has happened. The blacksmith here went to the well this morning, and the spring did not give. He called it again, and still no water. He called it a third time, and it spat. So grudgingly it spat some brownish water into his jug, and then the water stopped flowing. It stopped flowing, and not one of us can call the water back. Pentreff, what are we to do? The father came to see. The spring was dry. No water would come. When Urith came home, her father asked her to go to the well and ask it please to flow again for the people and the animals and the plants. They were all thirsty. And Urith did, and the water flowed, as long as it was she who held the jug. Meantime, the stepmother had set in motion her plans. She was indeed a lady of deep magical skills, one who had demons under her command, and away with her that wound dark silver cobwebs round the minds of men, and women too, strangling the blood of compassion. And those webs sowed thoughts. Why was it only Urith could draw from the spring? Surely that was not right. The water was for all. What had the girl done to the water? What spells had she put upon it, so only she could draw? And the stepmother's web spread and spread and spread. They wound into the hearts of all the village folk, and the village folk, they turned. They turned against Urith, and so the waters turned in their turn. They turned back into the ground. The spring ceased to flow at all, and the village began to die. Urith was heart-torn. She went to the forest, and it welcomed her. She went to the oak tree, and its boughs cradled her. And she went to the wise one, and he told her, "There is nothing you can do. Keep faith with the water, and it will turn again when the witch is dead, and the forest will see to that." Urith's heart was so sad, and dark dreams haunted her, but still the spring stayed dry. "It is she," cried the stepmother at the village meeting. "She it is who has caused this drought. We must do away with her." Her father sat quiet now, brows bent. He should never have let it happen. He should never have allowed the guardianship of the waters to go to his child. What did the fire know? What did the white heart know? What did some ancient old man who lived in the forest know? He should have given it straightway to his newly wedded wife. The harvest drew close. It was the time of the running of the hare. Urith spent all her time in the woods now with the wise one. She could not bear the cries of the parched land and the dying beasts and birds. But this eventide, the wise one told her, "The time has come. Your time has come. You must go home now." So home she went. Oh, so sadly she went. And the oak tree stopped her. "It is your time," he said. "When you come to the fields, you must run," he told her. "It is the only thing you can do. Run, and you will find yourself in the wise one's arms. Leap, and he will be there. And all will come right. And all will come right." And Urith then felt herself shrinking and shrinking, her ears growing longer and longer, her legs stronger and stronger, and she delighted in the power of her body as she ran home through the evening dipsy of the forest. And with a great leap she burst out into the hayfields, where the men were out with their scythes, cutting the hay for the winter beasts. For it was the time of the running of the hare. And I am the hare. She knew it now in her bones, and she ran and ran and ran. She must run to the wise one and leap into his arms, then all would be right. So she ran and ran and ran. And she saw the wise one stood up on top of the hill, where she had never seen him before. He opened his arms. "There!" shrieked the stepmother, her battle call. "There runs the hare! Take her! Take her! Take down the hare! And all our troubles will be over." And the men turned as one, their scythes raised in unison as the hare ran between them. And she leapt. And the scythes came down. And they took her head, and it leapt and spun, flying ahead of her body into the arms of the wise one on top of the hill. The stepmother strode up the hill. "Ha! I have you now. I have her now. She is gone, and I will rule." Blood spattered the wise one's gown, splattered all over the ground, and where each drop of blood fell, there sprang up a scarlet flower. And there, where the blood spilled deep out of the body, deep down into the ground, there a new spring burst up, fountaining up into the sky. The stepmother stood transfixed, but under her feet the water rose and rose and rose, and under her feet the land sank and sank and sank. The land and the water swallowed her up, and the last anyone ever saw of her was one hand waving forlornly from the muddy soil as it disappeared within the earth forever. And the drought was gone, and never again shall it come back unless the guardian of the spring is stopped. That is Urith's tale. And that is it for this week. And I'm sorry I'm late today, but I've been out in the garden all day. So now I'll see you next week. I'll see you on the other side.